Tell us a little bit about yourself. Well, do you want me to start when I was born, or do you want me to start when I lost my eyesight? She said, you pick. You choose wherever you want to start at. Yes, ma'am. So this is what he said. I was born in a family of two. I have two other siblings. I'm the oldest of two siblings. I have a brother, and then I have a sister. She's the youngest. And I was born with this physical defect, but I wasn't born blind. I was just born with the symptoms. This wasn't diagnosed until years later, when I'd actually started to do research and go to medical specialists on the optics, or the retina specialists, and on the eyes, and they'd actually diagnosed me and said, yeah, you were born with this condition. This is a genetic condition. Who did I get it from? My mother or my father? I don't know. But it almost guaranteed that even if I wasn't born blind, eventually I would become blind. This is what Mr. Ray Wonder Webb said. This is what Ray said, okay? And he says, well, I didn't completely lose my eyesight until I was 10 years old. When I was 7 years old is when I started to notice my eyesight was starting to diminish. It completely diminished at 10. So my parents didn't know what to do. So they took me to a home, an orphanage, with just, they were able to find blind children in this orphanage that they placed me in. And it was right prior, it was very prior to when they were going to move. So my family moved while I was in the orphanage, and they didn't even tell me where they were going. They didn't even say where they were going or anything. Matter of fact, they didn't leave any kind of information to where I could get a hold of them. They abandoned me, in other words. And then Pamela Black, the woman interviewing Ray, says, that's awful. So what happened after that? Well, I knew that I was created for something special. Just because a person is blind doesn't mean that they're blind, deaf, or anything. It doesn't mean that they're useless or worthless, or that they're helpless. No, we have something special in life that we must accomplish. And of course, the hardest part wasn't the blindness. I could have handled that. It was the fact that I was abandoned by the people that supposedly were supposed to love me. It was my parents. They put me in that place, in which I met a lot of friends there, but it hurt me for a long time. As Pamela Black was interviewing Ray, he admitted, he said, I went through a depression for a little while, but then my depression turned into this kind of rebellious kind of spirit. I am not going to succumb to my blindness. In other words, I can admit that I'm blind, but I can also admit that I am not helpless. So, when I turned 11, from the time I was 11 years old all the way up to the time that maybe I was about 13 and a half years old, I wanted to go to regular school. Now, they would not allow me to go to the blind school that I was going at, would not allow me to go into regular school because they didn't think I could handle it. And I kept being persistent. I said, there's a lot of handicapped kids inside of regular school. I want to go to regular school. Well, you're doing so well. The administrator at my blind school said, you're doing so well here. The orphanage even admitted that you do well there too. You help the other kids out. He's like, ma'am, I want to go to regular school. So when I got in the 7th grade, they said, okay, we'll give you a whole year trial. we'll let you stay in 7th grade and you can go a whole year. If you do fairly decent in 7th grade, we'll let you spend out the rest of your years, whether through high school all the way through college, in regular facilities. They call it regular, but what is regular anymore, huh? That word regular gets tossed around too much. It gets abused. I mean, for an example, it's a person that's blind that can't see. The school that they go to, if it's a blind school, that's regular for them. People that's deaf, any person that's handicapped. I'm starting to believe that the true handicapped people are the ones that has all of their physical senses in order. Those are the true handicapped people. Not all of them, but a great majority of them is. You know why? Because they just can't get it in their head that could have been me born with that physical handicap. So why am I laughing at the person that's blind or deaf or crippled? Why am I trying to act like they have some kind of disease by not being around them? Why am I doing that? That could have been me. And then they need to stop to think, oh, maybe, just maybe, I am really crippled or handicapped because I don't have an open mind. Not only do I not have an open mind, but I'm judging people. Don't put limits on people just because of that. They have limits, yes, but that doesn't mean they're helpless. So Ray, in this interview, got very emotional. He even had to take off his dark glasses for a little while and wipe tears from his eyes because he was getting emotional with some of the things that he said happened to him when growing up. So it's funny because she looked at him and she said, well, sir, you're only 6'1", and you're right now the #1 best professional basketball player in the world. Well, it just goes to show you, ma'am, that height don't have nothing to do with playing good basketball. It's skill. I believe it's a gift too. Everybody can't play basketball. You can practice, but if you weren't born to do it, I don't think you're going to do it well. You're not going to do it well. You can be born with it but not play as good. But if you were born with that gift and you practice to perfect that gift and to polish it up, that's going to make you better, and that's going to make that gift that you have bring forth the complete strength of that gift, the perfection of it. That's why they call it pro basketball or pro anything. I think we were all born with a gift. Oh, wow. So tell us more about growing up with this challenge. It doesn't seem like a challenge now. He said, ma'am, it was a challenge. I mean, I just walked through a lot of the fire. So right now you see a man that has walked through the fire, and this is what I am today. But believe me, back then we couldn't have did this interview. We could not have done this interview because back then I was going through all of that stuff that I was going through with people making fun of me because I'm blind and putting limits on me and acting like I have some kind of disease. Now